pressure of participating in an Olympics is overwhelming. It can get to even the seasoned veteran. Well, in the 1976 Winter Olympics in Innsbruck, a 19-year-old United States figure skater felt the stress of being her country's only chance at a gold medal. Her parents had always told her, worry about what you think of your performance, and that'll have to be enough for everyone else. But when Dorothy Hamill skated onto the ice for the long program, she knew that her best was the best. And to this day, she remains America's sweetheart. It never failed. Whenever she posed frozen out there at center ice before the final free skate, her body racked with nerves. Funny, it was somehow easier at the Worlds than at the Nationals. At least here in Munich, the American public didn't pick favorites on the team. Stingy judging sparked catcalls from the arena crowd, but Dorothy Hamill misunderstood. She thought they were writing her off before she even had a chance to impress, and retreated sobbing to her father at ringside. It was not the first, nor the last time the future world and Olympic champion would buckle in public and then snap back in style. Christmas, 1964. The same girl who was so shy she befriended the school janitor instead of playing with classmates, tested her brand new pair of figure skates on the icy pond near her house and found her toehold. After New Year's, Dorothy signed up for lessons at the Playland rink in Rye, New York, and a year later, she took second prize in her first competition in New York City's Central Park at the age of 10.
It was an hour drive to the New York Skating Club at times, in and then another hour out. So it took a big commitment. The other two children were older when she started getting involved. At 10, when she began to compete in the regional competitions, the other children were 12 and 15. And they were really pretty well established in the things that they liked to do, their own interests. So it took time away in the summers because she was gone, and she missed, I'd say, from the time she was 12, a good family normal summer, whatever that is. But she was doing what she liked.
She launched a 7 hours a day, 6 days a week obsession that began paying off when she hurdled the intermediate division and landed in novice, where she stole her first national skating crown in 1969. And like any skating family, her parents were equal partners in Dorothy's surge to stardom. Her mother, Carol, scoured valuable ice time in arenas across 3 states, while her father, Chalmers, stuck to ringside during competition as her emotional anchor. Dorothy, Riverside, I was going to say Riverside, California, because of where we are now,
That's
but
right.
Riverside, Connecticut is where it started. What was that like, growing up?
Well, it was wonderful. It was a small neighborhood. We could walk to school, and there was a little penny candy store, and I started skating on a pond. Actually, in the springtime, it looks very much like this. And I really kind of feel very fortunate that I had such a nice small town upbringing, because it's very different once you win a gold medal at the Olympics.
Whoa, I'll tell you. But before you do that, there's an awful lot. You had to get some special training, huh? I mean, special coaching. Doesn't that kind of take you out of the normal growing up period?
It does, but you know, a lot of people ask me, you know, wasn't it a great sacrifice? And I think that's the one thing that's hard to explain to people, that it's a passion. It's a decision that you make because you love something. You know, whether it's ice skating or hockey or basketball or whatever it is. That's the only thing I wanted to do. I hated school. I was so shy, I didn't want to socialize with friends. I wanted to skate, and that was the only thing I wanted to do. It wasn't a sacrifice, it was a love. And I guess people that don't have a passion like that have a hard time understanding that. And I'm lucky that I still love it today more than ever.
Yeah, well, that's tremendous. But isn't that what we have to, I mean, I tell my own kids, be careful what you fall in love with, because it'll consume you, you know?
That's true, yeah.
But Mom and Dad were very supportive, huh?
They were. It was expensive. Figure skating, well, any elite sport really gets expensive. But they were very supportive. Mom drove me to the rink at Playland in Rye, New York.
Oh, right. Well, yeah, all right. I know. I grew up in that area.
Yeah.
Oh,
She would drive me there before school at 6 in the morning.
Ooh.
And then she'd drive me back to school. And then after school, I'd be in the car eating my sandwich and putting my skates on and skate a few more hours afterwards. They really were devoted. My dad got the job on the weekends when he wasn't working.
Oh,
It's a whole family, it really is a whole family dedication. And I was lucky. You can't do it unless the whole family is committed.
Well, you have money for, you got to worry about ice time. Then when did you get into coach? When did all of a sudden was enough?
Well,
Something about skating backwards, someone told me.
yes, I wanted to learn how to skate backwards. That's how I fell in love with skating, on a pond. Like this, Binney Park.
Is that right? Oh,
Yeah, it was
Park,
like this a little
Binney
bigger.
Pond, is it?
That's
or is
right.
Binney Park.
Well, there's a pond at Binney Park.
All right, okay.
And that's where I first started, and I was with my neighbor and my sister, and they were skating backwards, and I couldn't. I was falling and falling. And I went home crying to my mom. I said, please, can I take some skating lessons?
Well, that's a great start. By 14, she had shedded her normal academic routine to study her sport with Coach Gustav Lucy in Lake Placid, New York, where they focused on the athletic, not the artistic, mounting higher jumps, dizzier spins, and her now famous namesake, the Hamill Camel. Colorado was the next stop on her training schedule, and Carlo Fassi, her next coach. One of the world's premier skating masters with such champions as Peggy Fleming and John Curry on his resume, Fassi battled Dorothy's sagging confidence and smoothed out her compulsory figures. Her polished lines and subtle, delicate moves drew a silver at the 1970 Junior Nationals and a fifth at the seniors the following year. Dorothy added ballet and fitness training to beef up her ice work, and by the 1974 Senior Nationals, she was right on course. Free skating was never a problem. She could adapt and excite to any musical rhythm or style, but it meant nothing if she paled in the figures. That didn't happen in Providence, Rhode Island. She traced 3 perfect circles, boasted a solid short program, and a dazzling double axel, half loop, double loop combination and Hamill Camel in the free skate to seal her first national title. Carlo Fassi ran to her, explaining that the crowd was furious with Gertie Chandler's low marks, not her. In fact, the international audience knew little or nothing about the new American champion before those 1974 Munich World Champions, but that soon changed.
The hometown girl, Gertie Chandler, her name was, from Munich, skated the performance of a lifetime. She really skated great. And her marks came up, and the hometown crowd booed them because they didn't think they were high enough. And they were pretty decent marks. They were 5.7s, 5.8s, and this girl is usually about a 5.1 or 5.2. So she got great marks. The audience booed and booed and booed and booed. It went on for about 10 minutes. And every time the announcer would call my name to skate next, the booing would get louder and louder. And after about 10 minutes of this, I just broke down into tears because I thought it was me they were booing. And so all the officials sort of scurried around and tried to figure out what they were going to do. And they said, it's okay, go get your skate guards and go rest back, where no one can see you for a while till all this booing calms down. And the audience doesn't know that once the judges made their mind up, there's no overruling or that's it. So I think they thought that all the judges were going to change their mind, but that's not a rule in our sport. So I went out to the ice where I dropped my skate guards to go get them and sit back and wait till it calmed down. And all of a sudden, the announcer didn't know what was going on, so he announced my name again. And then the booing turned into cheering. So I looked back at my dad and my coach and the whole team, and I said, well, I'm going to go do it. See you later. And I went out and I skated. And it turned out to be, a great situation for me.
But Dorothy pulled herself together and nailed the free skate with the help of one perfect 6 score to finish second overall. 1975 mirrored the previous season. Dorothy repeated with gold at the Nationals and succumbed to Diane Deleu of the Netherlands at the Worlds. Even though she three-peated at the Colorado Nationals in 1976, she was not confident of Olympic glory at the Innsbruck Games. The pressure was stifling. Dorothy dug into the figures with a near-flawless effort, allowing only the perennial favorite, West Germany's Isabelle de Navarre, to edge past her. But she countered with an immaculate short program worthy of yet another rare perfect six, and a lead on the rest of the field that seemed hopeless to catch. Unless, of course, Dorothy slipped. And we're now at the Olympics. In '76, you're favored to win. You're nervous.
I didn't think I was favored
Well,
to win.
okay, yeah, you don't. That's it. It's easier for other people
That's
to tell you where
right.
you But you're very nervous going into this. What are you nervous about? I mean, what's it like going into it?
It's funny, for me, no matter what I was doing, whether it was an ice show or a competition like the Olympics, I was so nervous I would be sick to my stomach, in the bathroom beforehand. But I think everybody else is just as nervous as I am. Maybe they didn't physically get sick, but I mean, I can't imagine that everybody wasn't just as nervous. So it's just one of those things that goes with the territory.
Well, but no, that's a great point, because being nervous is not the problem. I don't think that's the problem, because from the great athletes I know, I'd love to have them out. But what are you nervous about? Winning or performing well? Or?
Performing well. I was one of those kids that I wasn't really out to beat somebody. I wanted to do my best, and hopefully it was good enough to win. Yeah. But I was competitive with myself, and I didn't want to fall, and I wanted to skate my best and be the best that I could be. And I'd been runner-up at the World Championships, which were the same competitors, for 3 years before. And I was tired of being second, I wanted to win. So, I had that pressure on me. And also, there's kind of an interesting story. The night before my long program at the Olympics, I had the stack of telegrams that someone delivered to my little bunk, and I started opening them. And after about 10, I realized that I don't know who these people are. They're just well-wishers. And that was when I really realized that not only is it me, I mean, I have all these strangers that are rooting for me, my country, and I had a lot of pressure on me.
But you got to be nervous, because there are two young ladies in there who have beaten you in the World Championship. I'm not even going to try and...
Christine Erath was one, and Diane Duluth was the other.
Christine from East Germany,
right,
and Diane from Holland.
Holland.
Okay, and they had beaten you in the World Championships in the past, and they're right there.
They're right there.
What's the relationship? I mean, how well do you know these young ladies?
I knew them fairly well, because, we would do tours together and we'd compete together. Christine was a lovely girl, nice girl. Diane was, not that she wasn't nice, she sort of...
Aloof, and maybe a little?
Yeah, she was the reigning world champion, so I think everyone really thought that she was the favorite to win. At least that's what I thought. And she wasn't talking to the press, and her coach was being mean to me. She was never mean to me. She was always nice, but standoffish.
How would a coach be mean to you?
Well,
okay.
He actually almost ran me over in the Olympic Village in a car. I was walking like this with my coach. No one had a car in the Olympic Village, but he did. And the two of them were sitting, and my coach, I was talking to him, saw this car coming right at us, and he pulled me out of the way, and the car went right over where I was standing. So I probably would have been hit. But that wasn't nice.
The free skate, the final item on the Olympic agenda. During her last warm-up, Dorothy tumbled, an omen that she might be resigning to stress. Backstage, as the list of remaining skaters dwindled, she shivered from fright. But when the nod came, she shook it off and assumed her position on the ice. She attacked her jumps and spins, and when she signed off with her Hamill camel, it was all over.
Then afterwards, well, there was so much going on. Her dressing room was, I don't know, 5 feet wide and 8 feet long, and it was absolutely stacked full of flowers and things, and a guy outside waiting to give her, was it a ring or a necklace or something like that? Just one thing after another, and there was hardly any time to know what was going on. But it was just fabulous. I wouldn't want to do it again, but boy, once, out of sight.
At 20 years of age, Dorothy Hamill became the first American to capture Olympic gold in ladies figure skating since Peggy Fleming in 1968. And less than 1 month later, she entered the elite circle of skaters to sweep the sport's triple crown when she sweetened her season with another gold at the World Championships in Gothenburg, Sweden. Now, here we are in
It's actually Indian Wells,
Indian
California.
Wells, California.
It's part of Palm
and
Springs.
you're married to a
Sports medicine
doctor by
physician.
the name of?
He's a Canadian,
Oh, my
of all
God.
things.
Is that right?
Ken Forsyth.
Ken Forsyth.
He was
And you have a
raised in
beautiful young
Winnipeg.
daughter.
Yeah, a little 3-year-old, Alexandra.
Alexandra. How did mom and dad now? Here's Dorothy, our young baby, I'm a parent, you're a parent. Our
Yeah.
daughter all of a sudden is going out to sinful, wild, crazy Hollywood. Because people don't think of Los
No.
Angeles, they think
Yeah.
of Hollywood. How did they
They
take
didn't. They didn't like that.
No.
They didn't like that. And actually, the fellow that I married was Dean Martin Jr. You know, just the idea that it was a Hollywood family. That's one thing that they aren't. I mean, the Martins are a wonderful family. They have, you know, they don't live sort of the high
Right.
life that everyone thinks they do. But my parents didn't really know that. It just was the idea of it. And so they really didn't like it very much. And I have to say, even though, you know, I was in love with this fellow that was living in California, I didn't really think Hollywood was the greatest place, you know.
How does this shy person meet Dino Martin?
Actually, his best friend, Desi Arnaz Jr., had called me up and asked me out on a date. What was really, it was so funny because I was, I guess, all of 19 years old when I won the Olympics. And Desi, who, I guess it's pretty well known, I didn't know it, but was quite a party boy. Not anymore, but he sure was in those days. So he just on a lark phoned me up and asked me for a date, but he asked me, he said, hey, would you like to go have a drink? Now here's an Olympic athlete that has never tasted any drink of alcohol or anything. So I thought that was pretty comical, that he would ask me out for a drink, and I kind of stuttered and stammered and said, well, I have to go to Ice Capades tonight, because I was actually in town signing my Ice Capades contract. And Desi said, oh, we're going to Ice Capades too. And I thought, you know, maybe it's a big deal in Hollywood, I don't know. And I actually met Desi that night, and he brought along Dean. And we later got together, and I don't think I had anything to drink, but I think they did. And we just became friends, and Dean and I actually were a lot more suited for each other than Desi and I.
Is that right?
Because Dean was a great tennis player. He was touring on the tennis circuit at that time, and he was ranked about 200 in the world, so he was a pretty great tennis player, and he was a real athlete, and he didn't smoke or drink or any of that, yeah. Dean was Desi is a great guy,
Right.
and he's cleaned up all of his you know, problems, and
that's great.
he's a very bright guy. Dean it's very sad, you know. I don't, for those that don't know, he passed away in a plane crash, and it was such a tragedy. I think such a waste, because he was so talented in every way, and he was going to be great in his own right one day. I was sure of it.
That happens so often. But the drugs and the alcohol, which were not part of your life, obviously.
Yeah.
What do you think about that now in sport now, with what we're going through, where every day we pick up another drug, another enhancement, and what's your thoughts on it?
Bad news. I guess I really resent a lot of times when I see these phenomenal athletes that really sort of, you know, they're becoming heroes by coming clean, and, you know, I just feel so lucky that I never felt that I needed that or had to do that or had to use that. And it's, I mean, I didn't have an easy life growing up, and, you know, but I don't blame anybody. I mean, I had a lot of work and certainly a lot of opportunities to to blame somebody else. But you know, you have to take responsibility for your own life.
How about in your sport, the perception that it is a feminine sport and that any male that gets in it would certainly be a homosexual? How do you feel about that? I mean, is it...
You know, I guess that, you know, there are homosexuals in every field. I think figure skating is one of the places where they can be creative and people don't laugh at them. But you know, I think over the last couple of years, because we've had, your country and our country have had such strong male skaters, I think they're really starting to get the recognition that they really deserve. And I mean, they're amazing. Brian Orser, Brian Boitano, I mean, they're all just incredible athletes, and regardless of what their sexual preference may be,
Sure.
I sure wish I could jump the way they can.
That's right.
Yeah.
But what does it do to the sport where parents perhaps are afraid to have their children because of the old-fashioned, we can't have our kids near them?
Yeah, wouldn't bother me at all. I mean, when I see the sport of figure skating and I see these incredible, you know, hockey, you know, they're great hockey players, but I see that they could be just phenomenal figure skaters.
Right.
Well, Paul Martini is the perfect example. I mean, he's Romeo.
Right.
And it's just such a tragedy that there aren't more guys that get involved in figure skating, because just because you're a figure skater doesn't mean you're gay. It just doesn't mean that.
When you spend a big chunk of your life in the deep freeze of training and competition, it's a tough streak to break. Barely out of high school, Dorothy had already satisfied her utmost athletic dream and prolonged it as a professional on television and on the ice capades circuit. Hers was a flair not relished in recent memory in the sporting world, a bona fide female athletic idol. Not unheard of, but certainly rare. It seemed that every girl in America wanted that look. The Dorothy Hamill look. That close-cut bob became a trademark of a generation of fans, not just of figure skating, but of an athlete who trembled, but never surrendered. The only thing wicked about this Dorothy was her moves on the ice and her leap to the top.
Across North America or halfway around the world, with 3 classes of in-flight service, Air Canada goes above and beyond to serve you better. While in Los Angeles, the staff of Donohue's Legend stayed at the Days Inn Hotel, conveniently located near the LA airport.